All right. Welcome to the Strong Life Coach, Strong Spirituality segment. And we're talking about the 10 for 10 at 10. So we have 10 minutes to share a few principles, and this is about strong spirituality. So if you're with me, you're joining me from the Strong Life Coach personal page or the Strong Life Coach page, or if it's my personal page, or if you're with me on Instagram, or you're with me on YouTube, or you're with me on Twitter. So I'm live on all of those on a few different cameras. In what we're going to do today is I'm going to share a few principles that I use when it comes to memorizing content. So if you've been rocking with me for a minute, you know I believe that the holistic path to your growth, the holistic path to your progress, and helping you not just in one area, but in a variety of areas. So now I'm going to use the 14 that I use over and over again. So if you've been with me, you've heard these over and over. So just brace yourself for a moment. So you have, number one, you have the financial area of your journey, the romantic area of your journey, the emotional and mental wellness area of your journey, the social relationships, your health and your fitness, your spirituality, your impact on the community, your physical health, your immediate family, your extended family, your career, your profession, your business. You know, you have your relaxation and your recreation, your effectiveness and time management. And last, the 14th one is your values and virtues. So I'm sharing all of this to share this segment is going to be centered on spirituality. And specifically, you're getting the behind the scenes look. There's a reason you're seeing the unedited version. You're seeing the behind the scenes, the green screen in the back, the clips. If you're over here on the screens to my left, or you're seeing some screens on the right. If you're with me on Instagram, you can't see the clips, but you might see a little area there. But here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to go through the Proverbs. And one way I approach my spirituality is getting that daily devotion time in. And I'm going to share with you how I approach it, what I do in the process. So number one, I pick a book. So you have the book of Proverbs. And if you're familiar with this book, and this is part of this, again, spirituality, part of my faith content. So if you're not vibing with the faith, then this is a good time for you to, you could throw up the piece, and I wouldn't be offended if, hey, this isn't the content for you. But if this is for you and you're looking for spirituality to help you in your journey, this is the content that I'm doing. So you're getting the unedited version today, and then I'm going to post the nice, pretty one tomorrow with the music in the background. I'll put the verses up. So you pick the book of Proverbs, one of the 66 books in the Bible, in the scriptures. So you pick that book. So you know there's 31, or depending on the camera angle, there's 31 different chapters in the book. And then this is about wisdom memory. How do I approach the wisdom game with the book of Proverbs? And so I'm going to give you a few principles when it comes to memory. Number one is repetition. So you repeat it over and over again, and not just in one part of time, but also a couple of times. And it might be not just the repetitious of doing it 10 times over the next 5 minutes, but also 10 times once over the next 10 days, or the next 10 weeks, or the next 10 months. You get repetition. That's a fundamental principle of memory. And if you're somebody who thinks you don't remember a lot, let me remind you, there was once upon a time where you did not know what a watermelon was. But then you learned what a watermelon was because of the repetition, because of the visual, because of the experience. You learned what a watermelon was. Same thing for a chicken nugget, a Coca-Cola. Once upon a time, you didn't know those things. So we are memory-based beings. So I want to encourage you with that. All right. So you pick the book. You got the book of Proverbs. There's 31 chapters. Then you go, so you have repetition. Then you have association. And I love making the association with numbers, because what you want to do when it comes to memory is you want to take the concept you're trying to memorize, and you take a concept that you already have cemented in your brain that you could never forget. For example, I'm referring to you associating with a number. You will never forget the number 31. Like, no matter how much time went by, I would not forget that number 31 existed, or number 30 existed, or the number 29 existed, and so on. So you're taking something that's familiar to you, and you're building an association with something that's unfamiliar, or the content you want to memorize. In this context, it's taking the book of Proverbs, 31 chapters. We're going to create one association from each of the 31 chapters in the book. Are you ready? Okay. So the way I always approach it, for whatever reason, I go 31 down to number 1. And I'm doing this without any notes. This is what I do with my regular devotion time. I take the book of Proverbs, and there's a 31 chapter. So 31. What's one word in that chapter that I've devoted to memory? So it's the word beauty. And it's the word beauty because the word beauty, what it talks about in that chapter is that beauty is fleeting. In other words, it's not permanent. Beauty fades with time. So that's the only word. That's the Proverbs 31. I remember the word beauty. You might, again, I'm going to give you some associations. You say Reggie Miller. You might say his jump shot going in that net was beautiful, but his career was fleeting, or it faded. Or you can think about him fading away. So now you have an image of a basketball player, this concept of fading away, of a beautiful shot going in. You seared this with the 31st chapter in Proverbs. All right, let's go to chapter 30. So you get the concept of daily bread. So we might be familiar with the Matthew 6 version of the prayer that Jesus taught, the Lord's Prayer. You know, give us this day our daily bread. But you see that concept in this chapter, and it's this idea that the daily bread, like he says something and to me, it's not about memorizing even the verses versus memorizing the chapters, because one principle with memory is you want to make it as simple as possible. So instead of memorizing chapter 30, verse 28, it's just 30. And I know once I put it in there, it will always be. It's like putting something in a drawer, putting a tool there. You know it's always going to be there if you put it there. So what I put 30 is daily bread. And what he's asking is that, give me my daily bread, not too much, or, I'll forget who you are, God, or not too little, or I'll end up stealing. All right, that's 30. 29. All right. So he who remains, so the phrase is stiff-necked, or it's rebuke. And then so now the word 29 is associated with the word rebuke. And this one is, he who remains stiff-necked after many rebukes. And then you have destruction coming. Again, this is not about memorizing word for word. It's one word. 29 is, I'm going to associate it with the word rebuke. And then here's another principle of memory, and I call it the proximity principle. So you get Proverbs 29, but you also get Proverbs 28. So the proximity, that 29 and 28 will be associated with rebuke. So sometimes I'm going through the memory game, as I call it, and I can't remember for some reason 29, but I can remember 28. 28 is a rebuke concept as well. So then the 28 will help me, it would trigger me to remember the 29. I compare the memory game like a hotel room. You have the book of Proverbs is one floor of the hotel room. And you have each room is each chapter. And as you go to each room, there's going to be one principle you want to memorize from that one room. So for some reason, in the way it helps me to trigger my memory is when I'm in the 29th chapter, if I know there's rebuke in there, I'll also remember, oh, the next one's going to be similar to it. So proximity association. You have Proverbs 28, Proverbs 29, you have rebuke. So Proverbs 29 is about being stiff-necked after many rebukes. That means not responding, not being mature when it comes to people offering you correction or direction, right? 28, he who rebukes a man in the end will gain more favor than he who has a flattering tongue. Okay, so what's the principle? So what's the association? So again, I already got the rebuke and you got favor. Here's where you might double up. If you already had the word rebuke in there, yet what else can you do to sear that 28 into your memory? You might go, all right, favor. So now we have a couple of concepts you've associated with that one chapter in the book of Proverbs. Chapter 27, this is one of the most commonly memorized concepts from the book of Proverbs. And it's the concept of as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Okay, 27. Now, I'm going to give you an association. So you spell out the word 27, T-W-E-N-T-Y, S-E-V-E-N. So you have it spelled out. And in tomorrow's video, when I post the edited version of this, you'll see it spelled out. And then going down on the word 27, S will be sharpened. So now you've created an association. When you spell out 27, the S going down like an acrostic will be sharpened. So you know 27 sharpened, 7 sharpened. So now you're making this association with that book. All right, let's keep, and I'm going to speed it up a little bit. 26, it's the word wise, and it's also the word eyes, and it rhymes. Wise eyes wise. So he who's wise in his own eyes, there's more hope for a fool than for him. So now you created this rhyme, another memory trick. The wise eyes in 26. So 26 wise eyes, 26 eyes wise. So now you have this association with 20s. Now 25, 2 more words. So you have gentleness and you have patience. And so what I do, if you've been rocking with me for a minute, you know, I like to create what I call pearls. That might be alliteration. That might be something to help rhyme, something to help it to be memorable to the audience. So when it comes to this one, it's through patience, a ruler can be persuaded. You see those double P's? Or a gentle tongue can break a bone. So I will write a concept that captures the essence of this, but in a way that has alliteration to it. I'm gonna give you the example here. So you might go, patience persuades princes. Now I have 3 P's associated with this one chapter, chapter 25. Or you have gentleness, jolts, giants. You have the J sound associated with 25. Let's keep it moving. 24, it's the word falls and righteous in 7. And it's talking about this idea, if the righteous falls 7 times, they get up. So you might have falls, up, and 7 and as associated with this one verse, with this one chapter. 23, I'm going to associate it with Michael Jordan, who wore the number 23. So it says, do not wear yourself out to get rich. All right, so Michael Jordan's rich, number 23. LeBron James is rich, 23. But do not wear yourself out to get it. In other words, don't make that your primary focus, just getting rich. And there's a bunch of more I could get into it, but so I'm associating with richness with 23 with Michael Jordan, with LeBron James. I'm making this association to memorize one concept from 23. 22. All right. This is the word skilled. 22 in the word skilled. Back to the acrostic principle. If you were going to spell out the word 22, you wouldn't get a letter S. But here's where you kind of use some of the other language. If you spell out 22 in Spanish, you get, as some of you Spanish speakers know, 22. And the 22 has an S at the end. Now that I have 22, I have an S, and with the S, I could put skilled. So S goes for skilled, and now I could go, all right, he who is highly skilled will serve before kings. He will not serve before officials of low rank. So you have skilled, you have serve, and you have the S in 22. All right, 21. This is he who shuts his ear. That's a visual concept. It's an association. He just shuts his ear to the cry. You have a cry. You have poor will also cry out and not be answered. Okay, so this has a few. You might go ear. Don't shut the ear to the cry of the poor. So you have the association of 21. All right, 20. Make plans by seeking advice. You might have the word advice. 20 is advice. 19. You have zeal without knowledge is not good. Nor is it good to hasty hands missed away. So you might have 19 might be associated with hasty. So so maybe it might be the sound you make the association. So maybe 19. So 10 is almost sounds like hasty. And so you might take that, and now I have hasty associated with 19. 18. This is opinion. So this is the fool delights in sharing their own opinion, but take no pleasure in understanding, right? This idea. So you have an opinion associated with 18. So you might take the number 18, not if it was spelled out, but if it was wrote out, you might have 1, and then you might have the 8. And you might take one of those circles in the 8 and write PPINOION. So you might spell opinion into 18. So you're making the association of opinion with 18 in the book of Proverbs. Chapter 17. A brother was born for adversity. You take 17 and you have this alliteration, brother born for adversity. 17, brother born for adversity. You might think back to when you were 17 years old and an adversity you had and how one brother was there for you. Now you have, here's another principle of memory. You build an emotional connection with that which you want to memorize, and it'll be seared so strongly in you, you won't even be able to shake it. So you have 17. Okay. And if you're just joining, here's what is happening on this live video. I'm going over it's called Strong Spirituality, Wisdom Memory, how I go about memorizing one concept from each chapter in the book of Proverbs. All right. So we're at 16. And so 16 and 14, it's going to be the same verse. And it's, there is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end, Elite said it's one of the few proverbs that's actually repeated twice. And I like to think about this 14 and 16 as straddling over the book, the chapter 15. So you have 14 and 16, 14, 12, 16, 25. This is one of those few times, long time ago, I memorized the verse. Again, if you look at earlier in this video, I'm saying, do not focus on the verses. That's too much content for your brain to accept all at once. So you have 14 and 16. There's a way that seems right to a man, but at the end it leads to death. All right, so you have 14 and 16 straddling over 15. 15, two words associated with this chapter. It's harshness, and you also get gentleness. All right, so here's the principle. It's a harsh word stirs up anger, harsh and anger. And you get, and then you have gentleness calms. So you have these two. And this is, if I was using a fancy phrase, it'll be antithetical concepts or opposing opposites. Harshness and gentleness are associated with 14. So you might think of, and I think basketball terms all the time. People that know me know that I just can't help but think about basketball examples, basketball association. So number 15 is Vince Carter. So Vince Carter, he was harsh with the slam dunks, but then he was gentle with his finesse, with his jump shot. So he made a lot of three-point shots as well. So when that shot's going through the net, it's gentle. All right, we said 14 already. 14 and 16 were the same one. 13. And this is about he who walks with the wise grows wise. So so walking is associated with 13. So you might think about a basketball player. Again, I know, this is where I go over and over again. Again, this is unscripted. I'm sharing with you how I go about memorizing content. In this case, in my faith journey with spirituality. 13 is walking. You might think about the player who wears number 13 now, James Harden, often accused of walking or traveling as he plays. So he walks with the wise grows. You have the association of James Harden, beard, walking, and now with Proverbs 13. Chapter 12, you have anxiety is a word I put in there. And you also have the word kindness. And it says, an anxious heart weighs a man down, but a kind word cheers it up. Isn't that appropriate right now? Coronavirus, there's a lot of anxiety, worry, doubt, fear, insecurity happening. And then you go, these two concepts, an anxious heart weighs a man down, but a kind word cheers that heart up, or it cheers them up. So you might hone in on the word anxious. You might hone in on the word heart. You might hone in on the word kindness, cheers, and bring that in to help you to understand the concept. Okay, so we have 12, we're going to do 11. So 11 is a generous man will prosper. So you think about the word generous. So generous is now associated with number 11. Again, I'll give you another basketball player, Isaiah Thomas. So you think about him he was a great passer in the way he played the game. He was a great passer. So he was a giver. He was generous. He would try to help his teammates to become better. So now you have number 11 associated with number 11 jersey, Isaiah Thomas, associated with him being a great passer, a distributor, or a giver. He was a generous basketball player. All right, number 10, you get the word diligence and laziness are going to be contrasted. You get another antithetical principle. Again, this is a memory principle because you tend to remember if somebody uses opposites. You have diligence and laziness. These are two opposites. You have a virtue and you have a vice. This is throughout the book of Proverbs. So you might go 10. You might go a perfect 10 is somebody who's diligent. And you might focus on the 0 in that number 10 is somebody who's lazy. If you're lazy, you'll be associated with a 0. That's only half. Or if you're diligent, you'll be associated with a 10 with the perfection. All right, we got 10, we got 9. Let's keep going. We only have 9 left to go, and I'm going to go through this a lot quicker because I wanted to let this be only 10 minutes, and I know it's gone on a little bit longer. All right, we got 9. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love you. So you have the association of rebuke, wise, and love. And this helps me to think about how I want to be in responding to correction. So okay, you have 9, you have 8. This is the word rubies and the word wisdom. And you get the principle I just talked about earlier. If you wrote out the word wisdom, you might not have an association with rubies, or you could take the word wisdom and convert it to Spanish, sabiduría, and you have the word R is in the word sabiduría. Now you have 8, sabiduría, and you have the word rubies written down in the acrostic to help you memorize that Proverbs 8 is associated with sabiduría and rubies. You have 7. All right, this is the warnings in 5, 6, and 7 you'll find from this book is is the writer was trying to warn against threats to the marriage union, or warning against adultery or infidelity. So in this section, it's 7 starts with the letter S. Also starts with the letter S is a smooth. Also starts with the letter S, speech. Also starts with the letter S, seduction. So you have 7, smooth, speech, seductive, and it's warning against a woman who will use smooth speech to be seductive. All right, so now you have an association with chapter 7. Chapter 6. The word 6, also spelled S-I-X, starts with the letter S, and you have, can a man scoop hot coals into his lap without being burned? So scoop starts with the letter S. Can a man walk on hot coals without his feet being scorched? So you have scorched, you have scooped, you have 6. Now these are all associated with chapter 6 in the book of Proverbs. Chapter 5. 5 sounds like wife. They both have the letters I's in there. And then you'll see rejoice in the wife of your youth. Then you might go, chapter 5 has 5 letters. One iteration in one of the verses in chapter 5 is to be intoxicated with her love. Or another way to say that is to be drunk on her love. The word drunk, 5 letters. Also, it's in the book of Proverbs on chapter 5. Chapter 4, above all else, guard your heart. So you might have the word heart, guard, above, or you might have that are associated with 4. For it's the wellspring of or everything you do flows. So you have a flow, has 4 letters. Chapter 4, 4 has, of course, 4. So 4 and 4 might be a flow. That which I am inwardly will affect what flows out of me, what will flow out of me. So you have the word flow. Again, pick your word, make the association with the chapter. Chapter 3, trust. So trust with all your heart. So lean not on my own understanding, right? So the word own might be your word for this chapter. And that the word own has 3 letters. It's also in the 3rd chapter. 2 words. You have this idea of the call to look or seek wisdom or knowledge or insight in the same way people look for money or silver and gold. So you have look or see, might be, you think about looking or seeking, again, with your eyes. You have 2 eyes also associated with the number 2 in Proverbs. Chapter 1. So you have the word add and learning. So you add to your learning is the concept in the chapter, and you might make the association with a party, right? Let's say somebody invites you to a wedding, and what does the invitation say when you're going to bring a guest? It's called a +1. Plus is associated with 1 in that wedding invitation or the party invitation. Can I bring a +1? But then you think about the word in this chapter, it's add. So now I have add and plus associated with adding to my learning. All right, my friends, I gave you 31 principles. If you were to pick up the book of Proverbs today, my encouragement to you is pick your own. Pick your own concepts you want to memorize with the book of Proverbs and begin to build out those memories. And I could do the book of Proverbs probably in 2 or 3 minutes if I'm just like kind of thinking and meditating through. But for me, if you've been rocking with me for a minute, I don't believe in meditation. Like, I don't believe in nothingness meditation. Like, I don't believe I'm trying to get to an inner peace, or I don't believe in that. If I'm going to meditate, I'm going to meditate on something good. And what I go to, what my good that I go to, G and a G, is I go to the book of the books of the Bible to have some meditation there. So if meditation works for you with the nothingness, hey, rock on, do your thing. When it comes to me and my meditation, I'm going to meditate on what I call the divine thoughts, or the thoughts of God, which is God's word. So hope this helps you. Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment. I see some of you are interacting a little bit already. Let me know how it helped you, the principles that you're using. Let me know what you're memorizing. If I missed the memory principle, feel free to share what you've used. Again, I'm going to go through a series. This series is going to be every book of the Bible. I'm going to go through and share a concept that I've used to memorize one concept from every book. So every chapter. So there's 1,189 chapters in the Bible. This is what helps me to go through and memorize the content. Also, if you're still with me, and if you watch this video to the end, please share the video. I know, again, it's not pretty. It's going to be prettier tomorrow when I edit it, but share this because I want to be a resource to encouraging and empowering people to get the divine thoughts on their brain. Thank you very much. Have a great night. Thank you for rocking with me thus far. Spirituality. So if you're with me, you're joining me from the Strong Life Coach personal page.